Hello everybody, I'm Yana from Sydney Visa. Today I continue the narrative about the difference between visas 189, 190 and 194. In the last video of this series I talked about the general difference between these visas, and today I will talk about more practical aspects of each visa. In particular, I will compare the visa limitations, social welfare subsidies and more. Let's remind you about the visas we are talking today. So visa 189 is the permanent independent visa. We're going to refer to it as independent. Visa 190 is the permanent state-sponsored visa, which we're going to call sponsored. And visa 491 is a transitional or temporary regional sponsored visa, and we're going to refer to it as regional. So today, let's talk about more everyday aspects of this visa. So independent and sponsored visa, as I said, are permanent, whereas regional visa is a temporary visa. After a minimum of 3 years of living and working in Australia on a regional visa, one would fulfill the criteria for the subsequent permanent visa 191. Let's see the first video if unsure. After you receive the 191 visa, it becomes equivalent to the independent 189 visa. Let's talk about citizenship and getting the Australian passport. Well, since the independent and the sponsored visas are the PR visas, you can expect to receive the Australian passport after satisfying residential criteria or residence criteria, which is you satisfied after living in Australia for a total of over 4 years. The residential criteria starts when you first enter the country. This means that you can start accumulating the years of residence for subsequent citizenship while you are on a temporary regional visa as well. So if you receive after being on 491 for 3 years and you receive 191, you would need to spend additional 12 months on this PR visa before you would be eligible to apply for the Australian citizenship. So in terms of time needed to obtain Australian passport, all 3 visas are the same. I would like to remind you here that we at Sydney Visa conduct a free visa eligibility assessment. All you need to do is fill out the questionnaire below, and we will assist you with the choice of occupation and provide a feedback about your chances of obtaining Australian visa. One request, however, please provide detailed information about your work experience and education so we can assess your chances and just suggest the occupation more accurately. Okay, let's continue with the differences about the visas. So bringing over the family, right? So all visas imply that the members of your family unit are included in the application and receive the same visa as you. Members of family unit are husband-wife, so it's either civil marriage or de facto relationship, and children under the age of 18. You can also include children under age of 23 old, provided if you can prove their dependency. Essentially, it means that they study full-time. Parents and siblings, your parents and your siblings are not considered family unit for the immigration purposes and cannot be included in the application for these visas. Okay, nomination. So since both sponsored and regional visas require state or regional nomination, you will need to acquire such nomination from state or region, and as a result you will commit yourself to living in the state or the territories that nominated you. For sponsored visa, you must live in the state for a minimum of 3 years. Your work and income are not tested in any way. And for the regional visa, you must live and work in the region that sponsored you for a minimum of 3 years and show that you have an annual income for 3 years of minimum $55,000 approximately annually. All of the 3 visas have the working rights. This means that you can work without any restrictions as long as you work within the state or a region that sponsored you for the sponsored visas, for the sponsored regional. Also, it is important to mention here that you have no obligation to work within the occupation that you used for your visa application, and this is true for regional visa as well. What about living in the country? On both permanent visas, you can travel unlimited for 5 years. After 5 years, if you have not obtained an Australian passport, then you will need to apply for the resident return visa in order to re-enter Australia if you left. A regional visa is granted for a period of 5 years, and during this period you can travel and leave the country as much as you like, but keep in mind that in doing so you're not extending your visa. That is, regional visa is granted for 5 years, and that's the 5 calendar years from the moment you first entered the country on this visa. So it's not the summary of 5 years that you've lived in the country. Medicare. Medicare is the health insurance scheme which provides residents of the country with access to medical care within the state's medical institutions. It is the government theme, so you can say that the Australian healthcare is free, although it is not really. Most people pay Medicare levy tax, but nonetheless, having Medicare is the great security blanket for any individual living in Australia. I'm pleased to say that all 3 visas assume availability of Medicare insurance for all visa applicants. Previous regional visa, that was before November 2019, the 4891, which was replaced by the current one, did not include Medicare, which made it quite difficult for a lot of immigrants. If you're moving to Australia with children of preschool age, then the question of childcare is of importance. You might have already heard that there is no government subsidized childcare in Australia, and almost all childcare is private and it is quite expensive. In Sydney, you would be looking at about $150 a day for your child. However, certain citizen and PR residents can receive childcare subsidy from the government, which can cover up to 85% of the cost of the childcare. The subsidy is means tested, and both parents need to work or study to receive this subsidy. Unfortunately, there is no access to this subsidy on the regional visa, only on independent and sponsored. What about schooling? Education in Australia in public schools is free of charge to the citizens and residents, but on a regional visa you will have to pay a little extra for school. The cost of tuition varies between the state and the year on enrollment. In New South Wales, the cost is about $5,000 per annum per year. And this is, mind you, much lower than you would pay if you were in Australia on a student visa. Then higher education. So higher education in Australia is paid. Everybody must pay for it, although the cost of tuition varies significantly between international and domestic students. An international student can expect to pay around $25,000 a year for tutoring, while citizens and PR residents would only pay $5,000 to $8,000 for the same faculty. Although the tuition fees for citizens and PR residents are the same, Australian citizens have the privilege of deferring their tuition fees. The program is called HEX Help, and it allows students to repay their debt to the government, their fees, only after they find a job and start earning over a certain amount. And that's at least, I don't remember, either $60,000 or $80,000. The cost of studying in a university on a regional visa depends very much on the university and the state in which the uni is located. Some educational institutions make a discount to people that hold the regional visa, and others do not. Right to sponsor your relatives. This right gives you an opportunity to sponsor your relatives, such as your parents or your partner, for permanent residence visa in Australia. The independent and sponsored visas have that right, while you are on the regional visa, you do not have this right. Well, I hope this has given you an overview of what you can expect on different skilled visas. Please like this video if you found it useful, and subscribe to our channel to see our other videos. And you can ask questions just here in the comment section below. Cheers from our Down Under. Goodbye.